We're here to talk about some scams relating to the season. And joining us is Michelle Reinen from DATCAP. Michelle, tax is right now on everybody's mind, kind of getting those going. And we want to lead off with some tax scams. What's the latest?
Yes, we certainly want to make sure that consumers are aware of what is circulating to protect themselves during this tax season. And one of these items is back taxes scams. This is when scammers are calling consumers and claiming they owe back taxes. They say they are representatives from fake companies or organizations like the Tax Resolution Oversight Department or the Tax Mediation and Resolution Agency. The scammer states the consumer has not paid their taxes and offers to help, and they ask for personal information or upfront payments, which could result in the consumer losing money or compromising their identity.
When you look at that, it's a time for us to prepare those taxes, and everything is done online anymore, lots of times with taxes. So, I guess we have to be even more aware, don't we?
We do. We want to be sure that consumers are considering all things when doing that tax preparation to avoid the scams. And so the first thing is to file as soon as possible to avoid the possibility of an identity thief beating you to that return. Also, sign up for the federal and state identity protection pins, which are an easy extra step to the tax filing process that protects against tax-related identity theft. And you can do that at the IRS and the Department of Revenue websites. And of course, always be careful of phishing scams sent by text, email, or direct messages. They try and collect a consumer's personal information and scare them off, often offering incentives. But when it relates to taxes, you don't want to be accidentally loading malware on your computer by clicking a link, and you don't want to be falling for one of the scams out there claiming to come from the IRS or Department of Revenue, which says that they've processed or approved a consumer's tax refund but must now verify their identity. That's not going to happen. Don't be clicking those links.
I'm guessing everybody's looking for a shortcut. Are there some things to watch for in terms of some tricks or credits that we need to watch for?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't listen to those social media posts claiming that there's easy tricks or secret tax credits that can increase the amount of your return. They're often promoting scams or frauds. And then also avoid ghost tax preparers, someone who prepares tax returns without proper certification. Here they're trying to trick you into getting around certification. The ghost tax preparers don't sign the return that they file for you. Instead, they convince a consumer to sign, but you haven't seen the documents and what's being filed there. Also, these ghost tax preparers might move quickly from area to area, promising to provide big refunds and offer other benefits to solicit business. And you want to avoid preparers that pressure you into acting now because it's really just too good to be true.
Absolutely. We're trying to keep you out of a jam today on the morning show. Well, Michelle, let's move on to this is a good time here to plan vacations, and there are some travel-related scams you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, there's two, and we've talked about these in the past, but of course they certainly circulate during the time of year. It's online passport services and TSA pre-check scams. With online passport services, consumers could be applying for or renewing a passport, and they might start with a simple internet search. However, those top results might lead to a website that seems official, but it's actually run by private companies who charge for otherwise free services. And they might even be outright scams that solicit money and personal information and don't provide any service at all. So travel.state.gov. That's the official government website for passport services. There is a charge to get a passport, but the forms to renew and apply are free. Some legitimate companies registered with the U.S. Department of State charge extra fees to submit applications or pick up passports on a consumer's behalf, but they do not provide unique services or faster delivery. So again, that's travel.state.gov. For the TSA pre-check scams here, it's such a popular program to be able to try and speed up their airport experiences that scammers take advantage of the program's popularity by sending emails and texts and post online ads offering to enroll or renew users in TSA PreCheck. But when the consumer clicks that link, they're taken to a scam website and it's designed to steal your money and your personal information. So you need to be cautious and be sure you're going to tsa.gov/precheck. Again, both of these websites are ending in .gov, which is something you really want to be watchful for.
Lots of people want to get that TSA pre-check and get that out of the way. It makes travel a little faster, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And you also want to watch for global entry scams because that's, again, another process. If you're traveling internationally, you're going to want to go to the U.S. Department of State's website. Again, a .gov is where you're going to find all of this information.
If you're shopping for your loved one for this Valentine's season, look out for some dishonest businesses, right?
Yeah, here, unfortunately, we're talking about what we refer to as geographical scams. You think you're doing business with a local business based on an ad that you see when really you're just dealing with a scammer or a business that's creating a middleman situation where it's just misinformation. So, because Valentine's Day is coming up, many consumers are planning to give someone special a gift, and they might use online shopping options that are so very popular. You can place very time-sensitive delivery orders for flowers, food products, and more. And again, you think you're doing business with a local business. However, many are just pretending. Some companies misrepresent their physical location to solicit business in that area, and they often make money by charging consumers more. Then they place the order with the actual local business on the consumer's behalf. They pocket the extra money. And if you need to follow up in any way about the order, maybe it's cancel it, change it, or check on the quality of the product, you're going to be dealing with that first business who really placed the order with the local company and probably won't be responsive in any way, shape, or form because they won't have had their hands on the product. They won't have done anything to actually create that delivery. So you need to be mindful of this and really check things out ahead of time to be sure you're dealing with a legitimate local and trustworthy company. And you can do that by running an internet search for the business to find local reviews. Check if there are multiple websites listed for a company and verify that the location information is the same for each one. Then contact the business to ask about their hours of operation, their product selection, their delivery details, and that often is going to give you the red flags you need to determine someone is not legitimately local. And you can always ask about any subcontractors who might be used to fulfill the order or complete the work.
I'm guessing some of those are very close, like the legitimate website looks pretty close to the scammer too, right?
It can look really close, or they may just throw a community name in front of it. Call themselves Flower Shop instead of the real name. Call themselves X Community Flower Shop, whereas your local flower shop might be named after, some grandmother in town or some other great name with the community's name. And they'll miss those details because they're not really there and they're not really present in local.
What about credit repair scams and fraud? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's that time of year when consumers really kind of take inventory of this, and consumers with negative information on their credit report may want help fixing their credit. There are things a consumer can do for themselves for free, but credit repair companies also charge to do the same things. Consumers considering a credit repair company should know the rules these companies must follow. It helps benefit them to know those rules, but then they also know how to identify a dishonest company or a scammer. So the first thing is that credit repair companies must provide a detailed contract that explains the total cost of their service and the consumer's legal rights, like a 3-day right to cancel at no charge, before they do any work. They need to be honest about what work they can do, and they should never remove true and up-to-date information, even if it's negative, from a credit report. But on the reverse, scammers may ask to be paid upfront before they provide any help, tell consumers not to contact the credit bureaus directly, and suggest disputing accurate information, like lying on applications or filing false identity theft reports as a means of trying to improve your credit report.
Influencers have an influence as well, don't they?
They do. They're telling consumers that they can improve their credit by filing a false identity theft report about a debt that they owe. But this is fraud, and that's a crime that could make things even worse for the consumer's credit. So you need to be mindful of what advice you're taking from influencers and confirm whether or not it's good advice and will actually benefit you. But some consumers can take steps to fix their own credit by regularly checking their credit report. You can do that once a week online for free at annualcreditreport.com. If they identify a mistake, that consumer should contact the credit bureaus and the business that reported the information to have it corrected, and do so right away.
Overdue tolls. We've talked about those in the program before. What's new with that, Michelle?
Well, what's new is they are here and circulating in Wisconsin again. We did talk about this last year over spring break time and into the summer, but we've already gotten a number of notifications from consumers that these overdue toll text scammers are targeting Wisconsin again with final notice messages that claim they're associated with DOT. That's WISDOT. The messages include a link to pay outstanding balances right away to avoid penalties and legal actions. But if opened, the link leads to a website which appears to be a toll payment portal. It looks legitimate, but in reality, it's controlled by the scammer. And paying a scammer could result in consumers losing their money, but also accessing their personal information. So we encourage consumers to just report these calls, mainly text messages, with whatever information they have about them, but then delete them. Don't store them and keep them because we don't want anyone to accidentally click the links in those messages.
And finally, government imposter scammers. What's the latest?
Yes, we're also hearing from both municipalities and consumers that there are official-looking emails and text messages going out that are attempting to convince people and businesses to wire them money for fake tax bills and other fees such as building permits or zoning submissions. These fraudulent messages do appear convincing and sometimes impersonate specific individuals within the government, that local government. They're using official-looking government logos, street addresses, and titles. The messages provide well-written details and include fraudulent instructions to wire money to the, quote, government entity. However, any payment would be sent to the scammer. So use verified contact information to respond to local government organizations and officials. Never use the information you actually receive in an email message. You want to do that verification yourself, and you can do that simply just by heading downtown to your local municipality. And you want to verify all bills and invoices to confirm requests are legitimate before paying. I mean, you know you don't need to pay for a building permit or a zoning submission if you've never made one. Certainly you're not going to be sent that, but you do need to be mindful of any tax bills you may have outstanding with your municipality.
It's like a lot of things, the businesses that we talked about and everything else. I mean, I'm old school. I like the face-to-face, and you can be a bit better, sure. Not everybody can do that, but I think still that is the best, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of municipalities provide extended hours during particular heightened times of activity, like paying property tax bills. They may add one night a week where they're going a little later, so that may work better for you to be able to check things out or ask questions. But they also have, information on their websites with that phone number and that available email where you can interact directly with them as opposed to responding to messages that you get out of the blue, because municipalities aren't taking that information and just randomly emailing you.
Always good stuff, Michelle. Thank you. We'll talk to you in March with more info.
That sounds great. Take care.
Michelle Reinen joining us from DATCAP here on WRCO's Morning Show.